Imagine walking into a place where you expect to be treated with respect, only to be judged based on your appearance. Now, imagine that the person being underestimated is none other than Snoop Dogg. Yes, the music, culture, and style icon. What seemed like an ordinary day at a car dealership turned into a life-changing lesson that no one there would ever forget. But here's the most surprising twist. Snoop wasn't there as a customer. He was the new owner of the dealership. That's right. While the manager, Elena, treated him with disdain and prejudice, she had no idea who she was really dealing with. In this video, you'll discover how a simple but loaded act of bias sparked a chain of events that not only transformed the lives of the dealership employees but also reshaped everyone's perspective on respect and inclusion. Get ready for a story filled with tension, learning, and of course that touch of poetic justice only real life can deliver. Have you ever felt underestimated? Stay with us to see how this situation unfolded in the most incredible way, a transformation that began with a wrong judgment but ended with a lesson for everyone. It was a sunny day, and the dealership was bustling with activity. Customers came and went, exploring the gleaming models on display in the showroom. Little did they know, among them was an unusual visitor, Snoop Dogg, an icon of music and pop culture. But he wasn't there to flaunt his fame or draw admiring gazes. Dressed casually in a worn-out cap and faded jeans, he looked just like anyone else in the crowd. His relaxed posture and observant gaze were calculated, almost like an actor stepping into the role of an everyday character. He had a clear purpose: to observe. Snoop wanted to understand how people were treated at that dealership without the mask of fame. He believed respect should be universal, regardless of appearance or social status. As he entered, he felt the discreet glances from the staff, but none of them seemed to recognize him. It made him smile inwardly. It was exactly what he wanted. The game was about to begin. As he wandered through the space, genuinely examining the vehicles, he noticed the dynamics around him. Well-dressed customers were quickly approached, receiving smiles and warm attention. But those dressed more modestly, like him, seemed to go unnoticed. The discrepancy didn't escape his experienced eyes. It was subtle behavior, but telling. He knew that for many, appearance was a social passport. That deeply bothered him. So he decided to test the limits of this mindset. He approached one of the most luxurious cars on display, running his fingers along the polished exterior, as if seriously considering the purchase. At that moment, a staff member, the manager Elena, spotted him and walked over. Her smile seemed rehearsed and her eyes quickly assessed Snoop, as if judging him in a single glance. Unaware of who he truly was, Elena made the first move. But her attitude, though polite, carried a subtle tone of disdain, and that was just the beginning. Snoop remained calm, but his mind was already devising the next step. He was about to reveal a side of the story that would change everything. Elena, the manager, had a professional way of approaching customers, but something about the way she analyzed Snoop Dogg revealed her assumptions. Her gaze quickly scanned his figure, almost as if trying to solve an equation. The worn cap, the unbranded jeans, the ordinary sneakers, everything seemed to scream lower middle class in her eyes. She took a deep breath and began speaking with a restrained smile. "Good morning, sir. We have some excellent models in stock, but I believe I can show you something more affordable," she said politely but distantly, gesturing for him to follow. Elena led him to a section with used cars, completely ignoring the newer, more luxurious models he had just been admiring. It was almost as if she had decided on her own what he could afford. Snoop listened to every word attentively but remained silent. Outwardly, he maintained his composure, but inside, a flame of indignation began to burn. This wasn't just about him. It was about how many people in similar situations face the same kind of judgment every day. He knew it wasn't a matter of ill intent, but of a deeply rooted mindset. As Elena spoke about the advantages of a used sedan, clearly underestimating the customer in front of her, Snoop decided it was time to push her limits. "What about that car over there?" he asked, pointing to a state-of-the-art SUV. For a moment, Elena's expression changed. It was a mix of surprise and disbelief. "Oh, that one? It's a premium model with a much higher price. Perhaps. It's not exactly what you're looking for." Her tone was polite but carried a condescension that was hard to ignore. Snoop gave a slight, almost imperceptible smile, like someone holding a powerful card up their sleeve. He knew he was about to turn the tables, but he wanted to see how far this uncomfortable scenario would go. Elena had no idea that the seemingly ordinary customer in front of her had a plan in mind. After calmly listening to her explanations, Snoop decided it was time to act. He politely excused himself, maintaining the same composure he had shown throughout the interaction, and pulled his phone from his pocket. Elena watched the scene, still convinced she was dealing with someone of little significance. With a few taps on the screen, he made a call. Snoop's posture shifted subtly, but it was enough to make an impact. His shoulders squared, and his tone, previously casual, took on a firm edge. On the other end of the line, the regional director answered. "Hey man, just letting you know I'm here at the dealership we talked about. It's time to clear some things up," he said with a subtle smile. Elena began to sense that something was amiss. Snoop's professional and almost authoritative tone clashed with the image she had built of him. As she waited, the tension in the room grew. Customers and other employees glanced over, unsure of what was happening, but feeling that something significant was unfolding. A few minutes later, the regional director arrived at the dealership, looking both surprised and concerned. He headed straight to Snoop, extending his hand with respect and a touch of nervousness. "Mr. Dogg, sorry for the delay. I hope everything is to your satisfaction," he said, shattering the illusion of anonymity Snoop had maintained. The shock on Elena's face was impossible to hide. She blinked a few times, trying to process what she had just heard. "Mr. Dogg? New owner?" The words echoed in her mind as her confidence crumbled. Snoop, meanwhile, remained calm. He knew that this revelation was just the beginning of a lesson no one there would soon forget. Snoop Dogg remained silent for a moment, observing the reactions of Elena and the other employees. The tension in the air was almost tangible. He didn't need to raise his voice or show anger to make it clear that something had to change. With a calm gesture, he asked to speak with the team. It was time to turn the page and transform the situation into a lesson for everyone. When the employees gathered, Snoop began his speech with serene authority. "I'm not here to point fingers or create discomfort, but what happened today shows we have a cultural problem in this dealership," he said, looking each person in the eye. "Respect cannot be based on appearances. Here, every customer must be treated as someone important, because everyone is important." Those words, simple yet powerful, carried the weight of someone who knew what it felt like to be underestimated. He spoke about inclusion, equality, and how these values not only improve the workplace environment, but also directly contribute to business success. It was impossible not to feel the emotional impact of his speech. Some employees nodded, while others seemed deeply reflective. Elena, still processing the events, felt a mix of shame and regret. Snoop didn't criticize her directly, but his words struck a chord. He emphasized the importance of proper training and an approach that prioritized respect above all else. "This place has the potential to be more than a dealership. It can be an example of how customer service should be done." The promise of change lingered in the air like a challenge. Snoop made it clear that this incident would mark the beginning of a new phase, where snap judgments would no longer have a place. However, he knew that talking was easy. The real test would be the team's commitment to turning those words into action. The meeting room was quieter than usual. All the employees, including Elena, were waiting for Snoop Dogg to arrive. Despite his fame and success in the music world, his presence at that moment had nothing to do with concerts or celebrity status. When he entered, Snoop carried an air of calm authority. He wasn't there to impose, but to encourage dialogue. As he began speaking, he looked around as if evaluating the room before planting the seeds of a new idea. "Today isn't about blaming anyone, but about learning together. What happened to me could have happened to any customer who walked through that door. That's unacceptable, but it's something we can fix." The way he articulated each word revealed his genuine desire for change, not confrontation. He then invited the employees to share their perceptions of customer service and the challenges they faced daily. The responses started hesitantly, but soon the room was filled with honest discussions. Some mentioned pressure to meet sales targets. Others pointed out the lack of proper training to handle different customer profiles. For many, it was the first time they felt their voices truly mattered. When it was Elena's turn, her voice trembled slightly, but she stood her ground. "I made a mistake by judging based on appearance. It was automatic, but that's no excuse. I want to change, to learn to do better." Her honesty surprised everyone, including Snoop. He nodded, acknowledging her effort to take responsibility. Snoop wrapped up the meeting with a proposal, a training program focused on respect, inclusion, and personalized service. But he went further, emphasizing that he believed in second chances. Everyone there, including Elena, had the opportunity to turn this incident into something greater. The room, once filled with tension, now seemed charged with purpose. Cultural transformation was underway, but the real work had just begun. The days following Snoop Dogg's speech marked the start of a transformation that had seemed impossible just weeks earlier. The atmosphere in the dealership, once marked by formalities and subtle judgments, began to shift. Employees who had previously worked mechanically now showed more enthusiasm and empathy in their interactions. There was something in the air, a sense that everyone was united by a greater purpose. Elena, who had become the symbol of the prejudice incident, embraced the challenge of leading by example. She started greeting every customer with a genuine smile and took the time to listen to their stories before suggesting any vehicle. What had once been robotic service transformed into human dialogue. The change in her approach was so evident that even the most skeptical employees began to believe that reversing old habits was possible. Snoop, on the other hand, didn't distance himself. He made frequent visits to the dealership, not as a distant authority figure, but as someone who wanted to monitor progress closely. His presence, always relaxed yet attentive, reminded everyone that this transformation wasn't just a business goal but a matter of personal values. He celebrated small victories, treating each satisfied customer as a step toward something bigger. During one of these visits, Snoop witnessed something that symbolized the change. Elena assisted a young mother who arrived in modest clothing, carrying a baby in her arms. Instead of judging her, Elena took the time to understand her needs and found a car that perfectly suited her situation. In the end, the customer left emotional, thanking Elena for the respectful and attentive service. Snoop didn't need to say anything. His smile said it all. The transformation was still in its early stages, but the signs were clear. The incident that could have tarnished the dealership's reputation was now seen as the start of a new chapter. More than just a place to sell cars, the dealership was becoming an example of how respect and inclusion could change lives, for customers and employees alike. This story teaches us that appearances can be deceiving, and that respect should always be the starting point in any relationship, personal or professional. Snoop Dogg turned a moment of prejudice into an opportunity to deliver a powerful lesson. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity no matter how they appear. Now think about it. How many times have we judged someone before truly knowing their story? This reflection goes beyond a car dealership. It's a powerful reminder that small changes in our attitudes can have enormous impacts. And you, what would you have done in Snoop's place? How would you handle a situation like this? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might inspire others. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Here we bring you incredible stories that touch the heart and leave unforgettable lessons. See you next time.